Hello everyone, my name is Andrew. Today we'll continue learning Python and JavaScript, and today we'll create a simple WebSocket app using JavaScript, Python, HTML, and CSS. So let's start. Okay, what kind of app are we going to create, and why we are going to use WebSockets and all of that stuff? So we are going to create a chat. So imagine that we will have two users, user 1 and user 2. They will both have their browsers open, and we will also have our Python server. So Python server, like that, and user 1 will send some kind of a message to the server, and server will resend it to all other users. So we can have like 10 users, 20 users, and so on. We'll create a simple chat using WebSockets, Python, JavaScript, and HTML. So let's just start with that. First of all, if you have no idea about WebSockets, you don't know what is that, then you should probably watch my previous video on them. And if you want to start with WebSockets, then you should install WebSockets library in Python. It's an asynchronous library, so you also need to know about asynchronous, and all that stuff. Okay, so let's first of all import WebSockets, and let's import asyncio as well, because I want to get everything ready in order to just start writing our WebSocket application. So first of all, what we are going to do is if name equals main, so if our program was ran directly, we are going to get our event loop, asyncio get event loop, and then event loop dot run until complete, and let's create our asynchronous function, create or start server, and what we're doing here is we are getting our event loop for asynchronous operations, and then we are running that start server function until it is complete, and then we run our loop forever. So that is the whole idea of that code. And inside of our start server function, what we can do is first of all print server started, something like that, and then let's create our WebSocket server. So in order to do that, we have our WebSockets.serve function. So serve function, it's an asynchronous function, so of course we need to await it. And asynchronous function, WebSockets.serve, will help us to create a callback for every user. So whenever a new user will connect, we'll run our callback. And also serve function will accept two other arguments, host and port, 1, 2, 3, so host and port. In our case, our callback will be an asynchronous function, async define new client connected, and that asynchronous function should accept two arguments. First of all, client socket and path. I'll explain everything right now, but the whole idea of callback function is that whenever a new client connects, we will call that new client connected function. And client socket is the socket that we'll use to talk to our client. So imagine that we have our server and our browser. So that is our BR browser, that is our PY, so Python server. When we'll establish a new connection, so that connection is established, we'll create a new socket on both Python and browser side, so in both Python and JavaScript. And that client socket in Python is represented with that variable. Path is a special variable, and we will talk about that in the end of that video, but we will not use it today. Okay, so as you can see right now, we use start server function, we print that our server is started, we await our WebSocket serve, so we open up our server so everyone can discover it, establish a new connection, and whenever a new connection is established, we call our new client connected function. That function accepts client socket and path. Once again, don't worry about path, but client socket is our connection. So as host and port, we will write localhost, so my local computer, and port 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now we are ready. So what we are doing is we opened a new server, and let's just run it to, as you can see, server started. We can't do anything with it right now, but let's just write some new client connected. Let's just write some code in that new client connected function. So what we are going to do here, first of all, we are going to print that new client connected, like that. And after that, what we are going to do is use while true client socket.receive, and we need to await that function. So what we are doing here, first of all, we are printing that new client connected, so we can see that. And then while true, so while we while true, it's like while true, we always receive our messages. So what that does is whenever we have a new message from our browser to our Python, we receive it right here. And because we want to receive many messages, so our client can send one message, then it can send second message, and so on, we use while true, so to get many messages throughout our program. And what we can do here is create a variable called new message, and let's just print client sent, and let me just print our new message. So that client sent something, and that something is our new message. Okay, so now we are ready with our client side. We're almost ready, because as I said, we will create a chat. So we'll not just listen to our clients, but we will resend their messages to other clients. So in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to first of all receive a message from our client. We did it here, so we receive our messages, but then we need to send that message, send message. And if we want to send our message, what we can do is create async def send message. And yeah, let's just create that function. We need to put message string here, and after that await send message, and we need to put our new message right there. But we want to have our clients that will listen to that message, so we want to send that message somewhere. And in order to do that, what I want to do is create all clients list. So all clients list will contain all of the clients that talk to our application. And whenever a new client is connected, we're gonna do that all clients dot append client socket, like that. So once again, what we're doing here is we are starting a server with new client connected callback. Whenever our client connects to our server, he will go to that function. Client socket is the socket that we can use to talk to that specific client, and we add all of the clients to all clients list. After that, we are listening to their messages, and whenever a new message is sent, we resend that message to every other client. And to do that, we call our send message function with our new message from our client. And what we can do here is for client in all clients, so we can run throughout every client and just say client.send message. And of course, we need to await it because that is an asynchronous function. So what we're doing here, once again, we append our client to our list, while true we listen to our incoming messages, and after that we send our messages to every client using send message function. That is the whole idea of our code. So I think that now our server is ready, and we are ready to write our clients. So let me just run it. As you can see, server started, but we don't have anything yet because we need to write a client for that server. And to do that, we'll write a simple HTML and JavaScript code. So let me just create index.html file. Let me just name it Websocket chat, like that. And inside of my body, what I need to do is create div and two inputs. So why do I need to create divs, inputs, and why do we use HTML if you don't know about that? HTML is a language that allows us to put some elements on our web page. So whenever I open a web page, imagine that that image is we put that image using HTML, and that is the whole idea. Okay, so div, that div will have ID as message container. ID is a specific ID that allows you to search through your elements. And as you can see, our ID is our message container. And yeah, that is the whole idea. So now we can get our message container to JavaScript. Okay, what we need to add as well is one more div to just group up our elements, and we need to add two inputs, input 1 and input 2. So what are those? We'll use message container to show all of our messages from other clients, and we use those two inputs with types text and button to send our messages. So type text will be named message input. So we'll write some data inside of that message input, and let me just quickly put value here so you can see it, and I think you'll understand it better. Let me just open up my index.html file somewhere here. And yeah, as you can see now, what we have here is our input where we can write our messages, and we have our send message button. Those two things will work together, so I write something here like hello everyone, And then I press send message, and that message is distributed to all of our clients. And also what we need to do is add name message input here and some name here. Name is like ID but for inputs. So message or send message button, something like that. Okay, so now we have two inputs with text button, message input, send message button, and we are ready to write our code. Also, what I want to do is add some style to my div so you can see it, because if I look at my page now, I can't see any divs here. The only thing that I see is my input and my send message. But let me just quickly add the border, so two peaks, solid black. And if I refresh my page, as you can see, you can see that border. So now it has nothing inside of it because we don't have any messages to display. And that is the whole idea. So we have inputs, we have our inputs, we have our buttons, we have our divs. So once again, div message container will display all of the messages. We'll write our own messages to that input and we will send them using that button. Okay, so now let's write some JavaScript code. JavaScript. Let me just create a new file which is called Websocket client. And we need to connect that file with our index.html because we will not load that file by default. So in order to do that, what we can use is script tag with type as text application JavaScript. So we are connecting our script here, and src, our source will be websocket client.js. So once again, we are connecting our script here. Type is application JavaScript and src, so our source for our file, JavaScript file, is websocket client.js. And what we can do here is use document dot add event listener. I'll explain why do I need to do that in a minute. And DOM content loaded. Let me add function here and false here. So why do we need to use that? DOM content loaded. What is that? What is that function? So add event listener in JavaScript adds an event listener that will execute some functions, in our case that function, whenever we experience some event, so whenever some event is emitted. In our case it's DOM content loaded. And what is that? If we want to query message container, message input, send message button, and work with our HTML from JavaScript, and we want to work with our HTML from JavaScript because, as you can see, I have inputs, I need to read values from those, I need to capture all of the clicks for my send message button. If I want to do all of that, I need to wait until my index.html is fully loaded. And if you just start writing your code in JavaScript, then nothing will work. But with document add event listener, what you can do is use DOM content loaded. So whenever your content is fully loaded, you call that function. And let me just quickly write console log here, 1, 2, 3. Let me just run it once again. So I am gonna refresh my page and I'm gonna go in my console. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3 is displayed right here because our document is fully loaded at that moment in time. Actually, what I want to add to that is that if you put all of your scripts at the end of your page, so at the bottom of your page, you can omit that add event listener. But typically it's better to put it anyways, because if you put your script at the end of your page, then all of your elements are already loaded. But if you put it somewhere in your head, in your, like at the start of your body tag or somewhere else, then it's better to put your document add event listener anyway. And yeah, that's why we're doing it. Okay, now what we are gonna do is create our WebSocket client. So to do that, let me just create const WebSocket client equals new WebSocket. So that's how we can open a new WebSocket connection. And what we need to put here is our WebSocket address. So vs WebSocket protocol local host 12345. And let me just go to main.py. Yeah, 12345. As you can see, localhost 12345 here and localhost 12345 here. Everything is great. Now we have our WebSocket client, but how can we send our messages using that client? And let me just show you something real quick. We are gonna open a new connection to localhost 12345. Let's run our server and let's restart our WebSocket chat. And you'll see what I want to show to you right now. Okay, let's restart our WebSocket chat. Look at my Python terminal, run it, and as you can see, new client connected, because we connected to our server, because we opened a connection with that WebSocket. And now what we can do is send messages using that WebSocket client. So WebSocket client.send hello something like that. But actually that code will not work. So let me run my server once again, and let me run my client once again. As you can see, uncode exception, so failed to send, WebSocket still in connecting state. So what does it mean? Whenever you open a new connection, you have a little bit of delay. That delay is not visible to us because we don't have a ping, because I connect to my local host. But if you connect to any other host, to a separate website, to a separate server, then you will see that a little bit of delay is occurring in your WebSocket. And that is why we need to wait until we are fully connected to our WebSocket, until our connection is fully established. And to do that, we can use WebSocket client on open. So on open is a specific function that we'll use in order to get we'll use when our connection is fully loaded. So whenever our connection is fully loaded, on open function is called. Let me just put function here. And what we can do here is console log WebSocket or client connected. Something like that. Client connected, and after that we can put everything that we want inside of that function. So in our case, I will put WebSocket client dot send hello, something like that. Let me run my program right now. Server is started, and WebSocket chat. Let me refresh my page, and as you can see, new client connected, client send hello. And if we are going to go to network page of our developer tools, I'm going to go to localhost. And if you don't know how to open developer tools, press F12. I'm going to go to localhost, and here, I don't know what, let me just clear that. Yeah, okay, so we have two WebSockets. Those WebSockets were saved from the last time I opened them up my page, and as you can see, their time is 6 seconds and 8 seconds. But we also have one pending socket. So pending socket is a socket that is not yet completed. So we haven't closed our connection yet. As you can see, we received two messages, hello 1 and hello 2. Both of those messages were sent at that time. Their length is 6. And why do we have two messages? Because once again, when we receive a message from our new client, we send it to all the clients. And our client, so my client, is appended to all clients array as well. You can check that. So what I mean is that every client will receive every message, including its own messages. It will be great with our chat, so it will work great, but you need to think about that. And if you want to only send messages to specific clients, then you need to put some ifs, some if statements somewhere here. Or if you want me to do that, just write it down in the comments, and I will continue with that WebSocket client, WebSocket chat. Okay, so what we have now is WebSocket client on open function. We console log that our client is connected, and instead of doing like WebSocket client send, what we actually need to do is get our HTML elements to JavaScript. So we want to get message container to a JavaScript variable, our message input, and send message button to JavaScript variables. And in order to do that, what we can do is use special functions. So const message container, and we need to do it like that. Message container equals document query selector. So query selector is a special function of our document that will query our object depending on its properties. In our case, I'm saying that ID should be message container because our ID here is message container. And now if I console log my message container or messages container, let me just quickly refactor it, messages container. If I will console log it, and let's start our program, let's rerun our client, and as you can see, div, so we received the div message container, and if I hover right here, you can see that my div is being highlighted because that div is inside of JavaScript right now, and we can work with it. We can add elements, we can remove elements, we can do whatever we want. And we also need to put message input and send message button to our JavaScript variables as well. So I'm going to just create two more variables, message input, and let me just query it as well. But as you can see, our messages, our inputs are using name notation. So we have name equals message input. We don't have ID equals to message input. And because of that, we need to use a different query. We need to put those brackets, name equals message input. And now our message input will be found. The same goes with send message button. So send message button and name equals send message button as well. So now we have 3 of our inputs, and yeah, everything's all right. So we have our WebSocket client, we have our inputs, and what we need to do now. Now let's send our messages to the client, or sorry, to the server from the client. What I want to do is write some message here and press send message to send that message to the client. So we need to capture all of the clicks to our button. In order to do that, what we can do is use send message button dot on click equals function, some function, and let me just quickly put console log click here. So as you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm saying that whenever we click on our send message button, we need to console log that we clicked on that button. As you can see, I'm doing it inside of my WebSocket client on open. I'll talk why in a minute, but let's just quickly check that, or let's save it and check it once again. And no, we need to run our server to connect to our WebSocket. Yeah, that's all right. And now when I'm clicking on my send message button, as you can see here, we capture our clicks. So why am I putting that on click send message button on click right here? Because once again, we only want to talk to our server, to our WebSockets, whenever we open a connection. And there is a possibility that you have to open the connection for so much time that you will not be able to send your messages when your client will click to send the message. So what do I mean by that is that we only need to work with our WebSockets inside of onOpen function. Once again, because we only want to work with our WebSocket when we are fully connected, when the connection is fully established. And if I will be quick enough to get first so imagine that our connection is not yet established, and I am quickly doing it 1, 2, 3, send message, then we can receive an error right here. But if our send message button on click is only inside of onOpen, then we'll only capture our clicks inside of that onOpen function. So we'll only start capturing our clicks inside when our WebSocket is connected. That is the whole idea. And what we can do here is instead of console log click, we can say WebSocket client send, and what we need to send is message input dot value. So we send our message input dot value, and let's run our server, let's run our client, and let's write 1, 2, 3 right here. Run it, and as you can see, client send 1, 2, 3. Let me just do it like that. Client send 1, 2, 3. Hello. Look at the Python terminal. Hello, client send hello. So now we can receive our messages in our server, and those messages are being distributed to all of the clients. So if I go to my network once again, as you can see, we have more of our WebSockets right now, and I'm going to go to my last WebSocket. As you can see, I receive all of those messages. So I don't know if you can see it, but there is like a line up and line down. So line up is all the messages that we send, and line down is all the messages that we receive. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, we send our messages using our WebSocket. I can do it like that, and as you can see, we have more and more and more messages in our network tab. Okay, so now the last thing that we need to do is display those messages in our message container. And actually what we can do is use WebSocket client dot on message equals function message, and let's just quickly console log that message right now, just to see what's inside of it. And as I said, you only want to work with your WebSockets inside of onOpen function. But actually, there is a little bit of, let me just put it on message right here. But actually, when we're talking about onMessage function, what you can do is put it anywhere else, because you only receive messages whenever your socket is fully ready. So you'll not be able to receive messages if you have some problems with your connection. So that onOpen rule has an exception, which is on message functions. Whenever you want to receive messages, you can receive them anywhere, but still I will put that inside of my onOpen function. So let me run my server, let me run my client with F12, okay, and let me go to console, and as you can see, when I send my 1, 2, 3 message, I receive new message event. So that is my new message event, and if we're going to go to data, as you can see, 1, 2, 3 is right here. So what I can do is just put data here, run my server, run my client, let me just put hello, and look at the terminal here. hello here, our server and client connection works perfectly. The last thing that we need to do is actually add that message to the container. And to do that, we are going to create a new element. So new element div. Let me just create const new message, which is document create element div. So what am I saying right here is I'm saying that document, so my page needs to create a new div element. So we queried our existing elements here, but here inside of onMessage we create our own element. And after that, new message.inner HTML equals to message.data. So the message, that new message inner HTML is the data that we send to our clients. And after that, what I can do is simply use messages container.append child, so add a new child, which is a new message. And that is the whole code of our WebSocket chat. So let me just open up my final version and let me just write hello here. As you can see, we receive hello here. Hello 123, hello 123, just 123, just 123. Something like that, something like that, something like that, something like that. So we can receive all the messages. And the best thing is that if I rerun my server, let me just rerun everything once again, and let me connect another client to that server. As you can see, we have two clients right now. And let me just show you how those clients will interact with each other. So something like that and like that. Hello, client 1. Hello, client 2. As you can see, we receive all of the messages that we sent. And we can add as many clients as we want. So we completed our WebSocket chat and it works perfectly fine. So that is the whole idea about our WebSocket chat. That is the whole program, the whole idea, the whole application that will run server with Python WebSockets and will run clients with HTML and JavaScript WebSockets. And yeah, that is great. So why did we use WebSockets in that application? Because whenever we want to send many requests, and in our case, we have a chat application and we will probably have lots of requests every second. So every second our users want to talk, to send some messages, some pictures, some photos, and so on. And probably we want to use WebSockets because, once again, if you have no idea about WebSockets and why did we use them, is that because WebSockets do not close their connection. So every HTTP request opens and closes its connection. But every WebSocket opens a connection, waits for some messages, so waits for an hour, eternity, it depends on your application. In our case, it will wait until our client is disconnected, and after that we'll close our WebSocket. So we only open and close the connection once, and it's much better in terms of resources, CPU, and everything else. If we have, of course, if we have lots of queries, and you don't need to use WebSockets for every part of your application. Yeah, thank you for the watching, subscribe to my channel, leave a like, leave a comment, tell me what you want to see next, and if you want me to continue working with that WebSocket chat, because we can add lots of things. And yeah, thank you for the watching and good luck.